Hey everybody, welcome back to Fish On Adventures. Today is part 2 where we're going to finish up the electrical installation, and we're going to install these little courtesy lights, these little LED courtesy lights for the inside of the boat, and we're going to put 4 of them on each side. And the method we'll use is the same as we did when we pulled the wire from the back for the light. We'll use some small plastic tubing as our fish tape where we can fish the wire up through the pontoon, so we have no exposed wires in the boat other than what connects to the battery. Now, we said we're going to install a graph. Today we're going to be installing the Helix 5 DI-G2, the down imaging Hummingbird depth finders. So really looking forward to this. We're going to put everything together, but we'll get started. And as we said before, we finished up. We cut all the access panels. We have both our watertight compartment panels done. We have our rocker switch ready to go. All the wiring's here. We just need to run the interior lights and then we'll terminate everything. So let's get started. Let's get the holes drilled and we'll start pulling the wire and get the inside lights done. So let's get that. Okay, we got all the little LED lights installed. Came out really good. We got 4 lights in the boat. We have 2 lights under each seat location. That way you don't have the lights actually shining in your eyes. It's just illuminating the floor of the boat. As I stated earlier, we did use amber. So now we're going to move on to tying in the hot wire to the rocker switch. So what I have is just two wires, and like I said, always leave a little extra slack on your wires. I know a lot of people like to pull everything tight and get it all wide up, but it's really not good to do that because it actually causes any vibration or pulling on the connections. It's not good. It actually causes things to come apart. So what we're going to do here is basically like we did. I know people really have apprehensions about these Scotch locks. I'm not particularly fond of them either, but I didn't want to cut the wire and solder and do all the heat shrinking. I wanted something a little bit simple. So we're going to take, just like we did earlier, and we're going to make a real small cut in the wire, each wire. Which is going to give us that little bit of separation for that Scotch lock to pass through the insulator and not cause it to have a bad connection or an intermittent connection. Now I've already done, these are the trolling motor wires, the trolling motor leads for the up front trolling motor connection. So we're going to use that location, these wires. Keeps us from having to run wires all the way back to the boat. And they're a heavy wire, they'll take any additional load that you can put on them. So first we will align each connection with the Scotch lock. Any type of pliers, they'll just happen to have these clients handy, and push it through and down tightly. Close it up. Now we're going to cover this in silicone like we did the other ones, just to make it a little better waterproofing. And there you have it. Now I do recommend either putting a small zip tie or taping these up just so they stay together and the pressure's not pulling on that wire. Okay, so what I did is I bought just a normal everyday electrical terminal and made a jumper and seriesed all these grounds in together, and we'll call it a ground bus. This will allow us to connect all the grounds, and when we're done, there's a flat surface down in the boat. You can't really see it, but I plan on just siliconing or gluing that just to the boat so it don't move around. But we'll go ahead and we'll get all the ground wires connected. The first thing we want to do is we started off with this terminal here, And this terminal will be our main ground, and then all the other grounds will follow in place. So we can connect all the brown wires to this bus bar and the first black wire that we just spliced in here in the location, and we will get that on the bus. Let's get that done. Now we'll start with our main ground on that terminal. Okay, now what we'll do is we'll go and we'll connect all the brown wires to the bus bar all the way down. Okay, now that's got all of the grounds connected. And what we'll have one more to do when we put the graph on. When we put the hot wire for the graph, we'll tie it in. We'll have one more ground. But that's what it kind of looks like. Like I said, it is a ground bus. And then when we're finished, we'll silicone it, glue it to the bottom of the boat. That way it can't move around. So let's go ahead and get the hot wires on and get them on the proper switch. And what we have is waterproof spade connections. Same as the butt splices. They are waterproof, heat shrink. And according to what we're going to do, this first one is our navigation lights up front, so we'll connect that. All right, that one's connected. Now we're going to test the bow lights, which is our first switch, so it's on. So we should have bow lights on each side. And we'll move on to the anchor light. All right, we got all the lights tied in. We got all the wires connected to the switch. You can see we got the stern light is working. And we got the interior lights, the amber LEDs burning. So now we're going to move on. We're going to start the graft installation. We'll get all the wires pulled through the pontoons, get everything mounted up. As soon as we get that done, we'll get our watertight compartments in, we'll seal up the switch, and we'll be finished. So let's get going on the graph. Okay, we're going to start the installation of the graph. What we're going to do first is we're going to put the transom mount on. And what I had to do is I had to build an offset bracket because we had put the pontoon drain in. So what we needed is to offset that pontoon drain just enough to where we could still access it and it not interfere, and will still be level with the bottom of the boat. Now remember, when we want the transducer to be totally underwater, but we don't want it to protrude so far that it would hang up on stumps or even moss or something that would cause a problem. So with this location, what we already have mounted with the transducer will be level with the bottom of the boat. So let's get this on. Now the first thing we need to do is you have to level your boat in two different directions. What you have to do first is we have to level the boat side to side. So when we put the transom on, we make sure the boat is nice and level. So let's get this mounted. We'll get this mounted on. We'll get it level side to side first, and then we'll come back and we'll level it at the bow to stern. Okay, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to get it level and mark one location. And this is actually not the easiest thing to do, but we'll put our protractor up and see where we're at there level. That's pretty close. We're going to start close at first. We're not going to have to get it totally exact. What we're going to do is we'll put one, and I'm going to pop rivet these on. And the reason why is pop rivets hold way better than a screw will. So we'll drill our first hole location. And what we'll be able to do, as you can see, I can tilt this side to side and level the transducer and drill the next hole, and we'll hold it on the level that I make. But we are going to, as well, when I built the bracket, I left it bare in the back with no paint. We're going to mix up some JB Weld And we're going to add a layer of JB Weld. That way we get an extra bond to the boat and we get water sealing on the bracket. So let's get the JB Weld mixed up and then we'll start the installation. Okay, we got the JB Weld on the bracket and we're ready to put the first rivet in. Now we're not going to completely pop the rivet at the beginning. What we're going to do is put enough pressure on it to hold it into place until we get the other hole drilled. So we'll install the bracket in that location. And we're going to put just enough pressure on the rivet to allow it to hold the bracket, but not quite pop it. So now we can level it. Now we take our meter. We're looking for 0. And right there is dead 0. So we're perfectly level side to side in the boat. So we'll come and we'll drill the other screw hole, the pop rivet. Now, we want to make sure we add a little JB Weld to make everything good and watertight. We'll put a little more. We'll put some JB Weld on the rivet itself, and of course, when we tighten it up, it's going to ooze out everywhere, and we will do a cleanup. And now we're ready to go ahead and pop the rivets. And that bracket has some extra holes, which is actually a good thing because the JB Weld will come out of the hole. It'll actually give you a little more bond to the bracket. So that's not bad. So let's get that cleaned up. Okay, we got it pretty well cleaned up. What I plan on doing is I'm going to tape around it and spray paint over the rivet so everything's nice and clean. But something you can do is, you know, a rivet has a hole in it and the nail or the pull piece actually stays in there. But you can take some silicone, but because you got some JB Weld mixed up, take a little bit of JB Weld, put over the top of the rivet, make a dimple. In that case, I made a mess. Now you can allow that to dry. And if you want to, which I probably will, I'll come back and do it later, but you can come back and sand that off a little bit, smooth it up a little, just make it look a little prettier. But basically what you got here is you have covered up the pop and now the hole is sealed. And I will tell you, you need to get all the JB Weld off while it's still green because it won't come off once it's dry. So let's move on to the transducer. We'll get the transducer mounted and then we'll make a hole in the boat. We'll have a grommet and then we'll pull the cable up to the front where we're going to mount the head. Okay, now we're going to drill our hole for where, and we're going to put this rubber grommet in. Now I couldn't find a grommet that fit the cable exactly, but I was able to get this one. We will just fill this in with some silicone to make sure that we don't get any water in the hole. We're going to mount it in a pretty high location, and then we'll put this over the cable and run the cable through. All right, let's get the hole drilled. So I'll start off with a small hole, and then we're going to go to a half inch bit. Okay, we got the grommet on. Now we're going to mount the transducer, and it's pretty simple. Put these, they have large teeth and small teeth for biting, and we'll just slide it on. And like I said, and right now we're not trying to level the transducer. We'll do that. We'll actually do that procedure in the water and then bring the boat out. But right now we're just getting the wire in. So we got the transducer located. We'll get to the end of the wire. Now remember, in the first video that we did on the electrical, we ran a pull rope so we could pull this cable through. So what we need to do now is we'll simply reach inside with a hook or something, and we'll grab the pull it through and be able to pull the cable all the way through. Okay, we got the pull rope attached to the cable. Let's get it up to the front of the boat. Okay, you can see that we got the cable to the front of the boat, and we'll pull all the slack out, and then we'll make a nice loom on the inside when we get ready to tie that up. So let's get the back secure. What we're going to do is we're going to put a, after we get our grommet up, we'll put a connector to make sure we got plenty of slack, and we'll hold the cable in that location right there. So we have plenty of slack, but not enough to where it'll snag anything. Okay, as we do with anything on this boat, we silicone all our connections. We want to make sure we don't create a leak. So we will fill the grommet with silicone. And fish it in. Now before we fill up the hole, because the cable's a little bit too small for that hole, but we'll fill it in with silicone, let's get the bracket on. Okay, what we have is just a normal cable bracket, and we're going to pop rivet it on. We're using a longer pop rivet, and we'll put a little silicone in it when we pop it in and make it waterproof. But we're only going to add one of these, that way we have a little bit of flex in the cable. Pull it out. Now I'm going to go a little excessive on the silicone. We're going to put quite a bit right there. And then we'll add the rivet. Put a little on the rivet itself. Bring it up to our location. And there it is. Okay, the transducer's done. Let's get up front. Let's get the head mounted. We'll get the bracket on, get the head mounted, and get the power connected. Then we'll seal up the rocker panel, and we'll seal up the light switch, and we'll be done. Okay, we've located the position of the head where we want it mounted. We've marked our spot for the 1-inch hole with the grommet they provided to run the cables up through and under the mount. So let's get that hole drilled. Okay. Now we want to install the grommet, but we're going to put silicone on it as we do with everything here to protect. Okay, grommet's in. Clean up just a tad of that excess. Alright, we got it siliconed in. All we need to do now is we need to pull the cables through. And we'll set these to the side for now. Now we want to mount the bracket where we have the cables underneath the head, but we want to get our location, our angle location, so we can have a nice view with the seat. We got the head, we got the hole mounted, and we're going to put one screw in. That way we can move it a little bit if we need to. We'll get the first one started. That way we can get all our cables and connections at the proper length for the head. And we have our angle, which is right there where I want the angle. So now I'm going to drill the second hole to keep everything in place and put that screw in. So now we have our location. Now we have our wires underneath the bracket, and the cable wires will now connect to the head, and we'll be able to seal this part right here. Now you could put a bead of silicone all the way around it, make it 100% waterproof, but it fits pretty good and it has the inner seal. I don't believe there'll be a problem. But one thing you definitely want to do is, after you drill your holes for the other locations, we want to make sure that we do put some silicone on the threads, because we want to make sure we get a good bond to the plastic, and silicone does help accomplish that. So we'll get all the screws in. Okay, we'll hook up our power connection. We'll hook our transducer up. Get our wing nuts in. Okay, we got the hot wire connected to the panel. We're going to, and now we're going to install the waterproof containers that I built that I wanted to tell you about. Now I got these lids. They're just basically deck inspection covers. They do have an O-ring and they're 100% watertight. I got these off Amazon. They were $9 a piece. Now you can buy these as a kayak accessory from Bass Pro and some other places, but I will tell you this: the 4-inch one with a sock is about $36, I believe, off Bass Pro. I paid $9.99 for this off Amazon. And the cup, what I made the cup out of, is a tea pitcher. It's just a pitcher, one of them pitchers that you put in your refrigerator. I cut the handle off, I cut the pitcher off, and it fit the ring very well. We tried PVC pipe and a few other things, and we just couldn't find something that fit correctly. But when we found these pitchers, they fit really well. So we just siliconed them on. Now all we're going to do is we're going to put a nice bead of silicone, and we're going to stick in hole, drill a hose, and mount them. We're going to go ahead and tie in the rocker panel switch and the rear light in the back and get all this done. And we'll come right back and we'll show you everything completed, and we'll give a rundown on what we've done. So let's get these installed, get the panel in, and we'll be right back. Okay, we got everything done. We got the waterproof containers all sealed and screwed in, come out real nice. We got the rocker panel all sealed up, and everything inside is done. You got the graph mounted, and we have the interior lights, and we have the stern light. Everything came out really good. I like the rocker switch. One thing I did notice about this rocker switch is when it's off, it has the low light indicator light, so I'm going to have to put a master switch right here so we can turn this switch on and off so these don't stay lit up. But all in all, it came out really good. I hope y'all enjoyed it. You know, we have both our watertight compartments for putting our valuables in or stuff we don't want to get wet. And I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope you got some information out of it that was useful. Now we're going to do one more video. We're going to do a complete cost analysis of this boat. And if you're interested in buying a two-man boat, it's something you're looking to get into, I'm going to give you a complete breakdown of what the trailer, boat, and motor cost, all the modifications and accessories that we put on the boat that I felt was necessary. That way you can maybe budget. If you need to figure out your budget, what you need to put together, we'll break the entire cost of this down. I'm very pleased with the outcome of this. I like everything that we did. We kept it clean. We got all the wires inside the pontoon. There's no exposed wires. Everything is tucked away. But I hope this was really a good video for you. I know it was a two-part series. It was a little lengthy, but we did do a lot of work. But until next time, if you haven't subscribed, and if you're a new viewer, we'd really appreciate it if you subscribe. And don't forget to click the bell icon. That way you can get notifications on future videos. And it'd be equally cool if you went ahead and liked the video. That really helps us on our YouTube algorithm. So until next time, remember, when you light your campfire, make sure you share the light. I hope you see you on the water. God bless, and fish on.